Hi Marie, beautiful. How are you? Can you hear me okay if you're still there? I don't know if my volume's a bit loud or a bit low. Right, let's go live. Let's do my video. Right, I don't know whether... Can you... I know the lighting's not really good. I'm going to have to get my lighting, my photography lighting, and start doing my videos with a bit more lighting, you know, because it's like quite dull in here. But yeah, it's not going to be a long one tonight. It's only 4 pages. The other night it was 12 pages. So it's going to be a real short video tonight. And it's about a guy called Ben McDaniel. I'm going to go by his age and everything and then like talk a bit about him. Ben was born on April the 15th in 1980. He was the eldest of 3 brothers to his mum Shelby and dad Patty McDaniel, who were a wealthy couple living in Tennessee, Memphis. Ben's younger brother, unfortunately, he died at the age of 20 in 2008, and it was of a stroke. And it was Ben who came home and found him. Ben also had his own business in construction and was doing really well. He had this business for like 8 years, and he was married, and you know he was doing really well for himself. And hello everyone in the chat. I'm not being rude. Yeah, but he was doing really well for himself, and but unfortunately he got divorced, and his business got into financial difficulty, and he was owing like the Inland Revenue like £50,000. So he was in quite a lot of debt. So his business failed. He was divorced around the same sort of time, and you know he lost his brother as well to a stroke. So you know all these things that were happening to Ben, he became quite depressed, really low and depressed. But yeah, he went on like a downward spiral like in his life. So his mum and dad said to him, you know, we'll offer you like a year's like sort of grace to sort of like sort yourself out. And like, you know, they put him up in the beach house, which was like rent free for a whole year, because he was in financial difficulty. And like Ben, like because Ben liked to dive as well, he tended to not dive in the coast. He liked to dive more like in fresh water, you know, like spring water and that. But yeah, he was like, he started like with the grace of his mum and dad helping him, you know, he rescued a chocolate Labrador. You know, his dog was his best friend. You know, he took him everywhere within that year. You know, they were like inseparable. They were like together all the time. And he started to sort of he started to go back to like when he was 15, he started scuba diving. So he started to go back to his hobby, so what he really enjoyed. And he wanted to sort of like learn to be an instructor so he could go out and like teach others to dive, you know, and scuba dive. And he also like had the fascination with the cave diving as well, so he was learning a lot about that. But yeah, he started to get his life back on track, and yeah, so he was like really doing well, you know, within that year. So that's my first page. It's not a long one tonight. So, you know, so that's how he became like a frequent visitor to the Vortex Springs. And the Vortex Springs is like well known, and it's well known to be the largest like diving facility in the state. So divers like descend into clear waters at a constant temperature of like 68 Fahrenheit. You know, it's really like a beautiful spring water to be diving in. And this part is offered by the diving instructions of all levels. So in the spring bit, you know, of all levels, beginners, experts, they can all dive in that sort of part. But yeah, but for more of the experienced divers that go there, they tend to go more deeper at the depth because they're experienced, and they like to go for the wildlife and the coven bit, which is the cave. And that begins at 58 feet below the surface, past this depth. And to enter the cave, so I don't know whether you see my picture that I put up before of like the Grim Reaper, and like the facts of like, you know, telling you like, you know, entering at your own risk. You know, me personally, if I'd have seen a sign like that, as like daring as I am, and I like me, like, you know, my weekends away ghost hunting and stuff, I don't think I'd enter. You know, it would really put me off. But you know, there's some more daredevils out there that, you know, like to go that little bit further, don't they? Just one more, sorry everybody. Yes, Callum. Your tongue, please. Teenagers. But yeah, so yeah, so there's a big signpost outside the gate, and with this gate you have to have a key. So basically in the shop upstairs, like in the shop, you have to go and get a key from like the shop, so you can, so they log it. Sorry, my son's put me right off. Just typical, isn't it? But it's my second live doing this, and you know, I'm just sort of like, yeah, trying. So no harm in trying, as they say. But yeah, so you know, to go into this cave, you know, you're required to present proof of a certificate, like certificate that you that you're a certified diver and you're experienced in cave diving as well. And so, and you have to sign a liability form as well. So they log everybody that goes in and out of that cave, because, you know, if anything happens, the owner isn't liable, because there has been divers that have died in the cave before. Yeah, sorry everybody. Gone past that bit. Yeah, so on this Wednesday of Ben coming to the resort, he had his dog with him, as you know, as normal. Like that's something he would do, bring his dog with him. He came to the Vortex. He parked his truck in the car park, and he got his equipment on and started diving. Ben dived there sort of like so regular, the other divers and the employees actually thought he was like a certified diver. So they actually thought, you know, he had his certificate. Yeah, so sorry, again, it's not long to go now, so it's a short one. Yeah, so what he was doing, like what Ben was doing, he was going down that day and he was logging his dives. So like every dive he was doing, he was coming back up, he was logging them and mapping out himself where he'd like been, and like, you know, just for his own records really. But yeah, he came back up, he went back into the shop, he filled his tanks. They wasn't aware of what he filled them with at the time, but he filled his tanks up, he came back out of the shop, and he just, like, other people after sort of see him just sort of looking out, like staring out and that. And, you know, it came to sort of like around about 7ish, and he rung his mum. And he said, you know, his mum has said that he just sounded normal, you know, nothing was different. He didn't sound down. He sounded like happy. You know, he said to her, I'm going to go and do my last dive for the evening. I'm really getting into this cave diving. You know, he was really happy. And she just felt that there was nothing like there to sort of show that, you know, obviously because he's disappeared, isn't he? So she just felt that, you know, there was nothing showing any signs of him. You having a bath? Yeah, of any signs of him, like, you know, just walking away and just leaving his dog and his truck behind. But yeah, so when it came to him ending the call, you know, unfortunately that was the last time his mum has ever heard him, you know, ever heard his voice. And there was 2 employees there that on a Wednesday, it was a weekly thing for these 2 employees. They actually see Ben put his like hat on, diving helmet on, with the light on. And on a Wednesday after like work, the 2 employees would do diving themselves, and they see him like go down for his dive. They done a dive as well, thinking, you know, that's their final dive. That was Ben's final dive. And when they got down, they could see like Ben trying to like get through the gate. So, you know, they sort of, one of them went back up and got the key and actually opened the gate for Ben to go into the cave. I'll put like the Vortex Spring, there's a film on it as well. I'll put that underneath the description. So, you know, if you want to go and have a look at the film as well to like understand more what I'm saying about the cave really. But yeah, you know, so normally the 2 employees would wait until they see like bubbles like descending to know that that diver's coming back up. But on this specific night, they didn't wait around. They just sort of left the resort. And Thursday came, Ben's truck was still there. And come Friday, this is when the employees noticed that Ben's truck was still there. And that's when they called the police, because, you know, obviously the truck's still sitting there, the dog's still inside the truck. You know, he wouldn't leave his dog. His mum said, you know, they were inseparable. Yeah, so the police arrived, and, you know, this was a bit more like, for the police, they had to like get in like trained divers, you know, to actually come in now and start diving, because they're actually thinking now they've checked his truck, his wallet was still in there with $1,000 in, his dog was in there, his map and his logbook was in there. There was no diving equipment, so to them it was like no sign of struggle. So he hasn't like, something hasn't happened to him and he's been taken away. you know, they're now thinking that they're going to bring up, you know, Ben's body. So divers came in, they went down. If you get a map of the cave, you know, in some places it's so narrow, you just couldn't even get in there yourself, you know, it just wouldn't happen. And they searched the cave, they came back up, and there was no Ben. But what they did find on the outside of the gates before you go in was Ben's 2 tanks, and they were filled with just air. So normally they say when divers go into caves, they tend to leave like one of their tanks like a bit further through, so on the way back they can then get that tank to descend like out, like to decompress, because obviously it's like different oxygen and stuff, isn't it? And it's more different when it's below depth than obviously in a cave. So yeah, but they couldn't find his body. So right, last page is right. So yeah, the divers arrived and they looked, you know, small part, found nothing. So, you know, and so basically, what they done next, the police, they, and I think with like the push of Ben's parents, they brought in he was a cave diver recovery specialist, and he had like hundreds of dives experience. And you know, if he was the one, like if he was the one to go down and find Ben, he would be the one, because he's like, he works in like rescue organisation, so the amount of dives he'd done and rescues, he would have been him to like find him down there. But yeah, he went down. He even went past like Ben's, what he'd actually wrote on his map, he went past that. He even went down with thinner tanks. He even took like a camera vehicle buggy down with him to go like further into the cave where your body just physically couldn't get to, and he wasn't in there. So, you know, he came back up and he said, you know, he's not there, you know, he's not in this cave. So yeah, and so yeah, so he sort of so where was he? You know, it was like a big sort of like, where's Ben? Because the last person to see him was the 2 employees. They let him in the cave. You've got another, after the guy who has the rescue organisations, Ben's parents actually paid for the diver who actually, I think it was 2008. Yeah, in 2008, he actually done the whole of the cave, and he was the one that actually done the whole map of the cave. So if you Google him, or and it comes up with like the map, he was the one that actually done the whole of the map. And he even went in there and he done 7 dives. So he's gone in there 7 attempts, and he's got to where basically he could physically go as well, and he still came back and he apologized to Ben's family, and he wasn't there. So, you know, you've got like a gap as well from Wednesday to Friday. You know, the employees were the ones the last to see him. The guy who actually owned the resort, it all come out with Ben's disappearance, that he was actually on 8 years probation because he kidnapped and assaulted an ex-employer because he owed him money. And, you know, it was quite a bad assault. He you know, hit him over the head with a baseball bat. So, you know, there's quite a gap between Wednesday and Friday. You know, there's so many theories into it through the diving community. Some have said, you know, did he want his to keep his reputation? You know, because they've allowed him to go into the cave without signing any liability. You know, his employees done it. You know, did they know he was down there and they covered it up and removed his body before Friday? Or did Ben just like come out, descend and just, you know, just walk away and just start a new life? Because some people have been known to do that, you know, but, you know, his mum is adamant that he would never do that. He would never have left his dog there for 2 days. You know, there's so many theories into it. I mean, you know, what do you think? You know, what would your theory be? You know, if you have a theory, I'd love to see it in the comments below. Yeah, but sadly the owner of the resort died later on as well. So if he did know anything about Ben's disappearance, you know, he's actually died, so we'll never know. I think he died in a chili competition and he fell over and hit his head, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's how the owner passed away. But yeah, it's a really sad, you know, story. And you know, I hope Ben is out there somewhere. And you know, it's sad what he's putting his family through, if he is, but I just don't think he would put him through that because of his brother dying, his younger brother dying of a stroke, and he saw how it affected his mum, how it affected him. You know, there's just something not right about it. And, you know, I'd like to hear your theory if you have one, but please leave it under in the comments. If you liked my video, please press the like button. But yeah, I've got some more coming as well. So yeah, hope to see you again. I know it's a short but sweet video, but yeah, I really, yeah, thank you for coming in and chatting with me in the chat. And thank you for listening. Big love to everyone. Don't want to be rude and say peace out just yet, but I will quickly say, I'll quickly go and have a look. Hi Paul, big respect to you. You was one of the first to ever comment on my videos, you were. It's nice to see you in here, big respect. Steve O'Mac, my beautiful friend, one of my best friends. And I've got about 20. Got a laugh. Marisi, beautiful, thank you for coming in. Erie, big respect to you. No, it's not my son. His name's called Ben McDaniel. Chimpy, big respect. G2R, good to see you in here. Carl, big respect to you. Just go through 1 minute, Callum, and then I can say peace out. Peace out, everybody. Big love to you all, and see you on my next video. Take care.